In 2024, it got World Heritage Site status specifically for Ice Age occupation sites. Hello and welcome back to Vanner's View channel. I'm finding myself currently in the sandy little town of Leipoldtville. I'm just riding through, I would assume, which is this main road of Leipoldtville. And also in the previous video I showed the church here in front, so I'm just passing it again. But if you are interested to see how I ended up in Leipoldtville, please make sure to watch the previous video, which I took the trip all the way from Elands Bay via Lamberts Bay, ending up here in Leipoldtville. But this trip is now continuing and I'm particularly excited for this trip today. The end destination of the trip is the little town of Aurora. Now Aurora is a little town with what I've seen or heard, a very beautiful church. But before that, we're going to make a few interesting stops. My very first place that I just want to make a bit of a detour is at sorry, I'm getting a bit lost on this road. This will not be the first time. If you want to see how I got a little bit into difficulty on this sandy roads of Leipoldtville now, this area is not called the Sandveld for nothing. This is a major potato producing area. So I think I must just keep my eye a bit better on the GPS before I end up in small sandy back roads again. Let me just see if I can maybe make a turn here, because I think, this is where we want to go. This should take us to the main road. So the main road is the R365 that will take us to Verlorenvlei. Now Verlorenvlei is a huge estuary just close to Elands Bay. I think the R365, this is the road that actually will go to Lamberts Bay, but I'm going to make the turn south to Elands Bay and Verlorenvlei, which is just here. We're just going to make the turn now. So this road connects up to the R366 then again. So maybe just to summarize a bit, so I'm going to take this road to Verlorenvlei, then I want to make a stop at a very interesting archaeological site that I will talk more about. But another town that we will pass through is Redelinghuys. Now Redelinghuys, there's a little bit of a tragedy that came about in that town in 2019 that I will talk about, and then we will head off to the town of Aurora. But for now, just enjoy this stretch of road to Verlorenvlei with me. So like all previous trips that I've posted on the channel, I'm doing this trip with my trusted Honda CRF 300 Rally. This is just a bike that I find very comfortable to do these kind of roads, whether it is now tar road or off-road, it doesn't matter, this bike can handle it all. If you've not caught up with the current series of trips, this is already the 5th video in this, what I call the West Coast series. In the previous 4 videos I travelled up the coast a bit, visited places like Saldanha, Paternoster, Elands Bay, also Veldrift. But now in the previous video I turned a little bit away from the coast and I will keep to it a little bit more inland. Please go and have a look if you want to see how I came about to now ride this road from Leipoldtville, and share your comments. I would appreciate it. I can just mention that if you're interested to track the routes that I'm riding, I'm always putting a link to the Google Maps route of the trips I did. So in every video that I've posted, you can go and look at the description of the video to find a link. And also for the trip today, sometimes I get lost a bit, sometimes I take a bit of a detour, but I always try and make sure afterwards when I prepare the videos to track my route as accurately as possible. So please go and check it out. I think sometimes it can be a bit frustrating to just see road but not necessarily being sure where I did the riding, but it's all there. And please share your comments if you like this, or if you think there's something else that I should do to maybe include more information about the routes that I ride. Yeah, and there you can also now see the sea. And Baboon Point, that's the place that I crossed when I rode to Elands Bay in one of my previous videos. Beautiful view on Elands Bay. I also spent the night there last night, so if you want to see my arrival at Elands Bay, please go and have a look at that video. But one of the reasons why I like this road so much is the approach to Verlorenvlei. You see it all from a height. So you can see the waters here in front, and a very narrow channel that actually connects it with the sea. So mostly it is not connected to the sea, so it's very much a freshwater estuary, which is one of the largest in the Western Cape and on the west coast. It stretches all the way towards Redelinghuys. This estuary is home to an abundance of birds and fish and other animals. The sad story about this estuary was that from 2015 it actually ran dry, and lots of fish died, the birds migrated away, and it was a number of years where there was almost no water in this estuary. And then in 2023, so about 2 years ago, with good rains in the Western Cape, it filled up again and actually pushed through to the sea. So both in 2023 and 2024, it actually ran into the sea, and it has been beautifully revitalized and restored with birds returning and so on. Just in this estuary alone, there's about 75 different species of waterbird. And at any given time, there's about 5,000 birds that is settled here, and at times it can even increase to 20,000 birds. So I just think it's a tremendously beautiful estuary, and it must be a bird watcher's haven to come and look at it. Yeah, so we're now connecting to the R366 at a place called Vensterklip. So if you want to stay next to Verlorenvlei, I think Vensterklip is probably your best place to do it. There's some camping spots here, there's some self-catering accommodation, there's also a shop or two. So I'm just going to cross the road and just have a look at what it looks like. There's also a restaurant. Yeah, this is Vensterklip and Rooi Store, the red store. Apparently there's quite a few interesting goodies that one can buy there. I'm not going to stop here now, but I'm just making a quick ride through. But yeah, you can certainly experience Verlorenvlei. It's a little bit there to the distance, but I think there are walkways and so on to Verlorenvlei. And this is the Rooi Store, or the red store, where one can also buy some goodies and memorabilia and so on. And then there in front is some camping spots. So I think Vensterklip is a very nice place to come and relax here next to the beautiful Verlorenvlei. I'm going to continue now along the R366 in the direction of Redelinghuys. But as I mentioned, I just want to make a detour Verlorenvlei stretches for another 24 kilometers or so in the direction of Redelinghuys. But I'm going to head now 12 kilometers down this road from Vensterklip and make a turn to the right and actually cross over to the other side of Verlorenvlei. There should be a bridge to go and visit the Diepkloof Rock Shelter, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Diepkloof Rock Shelter when I get there. So we're actually heading now to the other side of the estuary, and you can see that mountainous outcrop there. I believe that is the Diepkloof Rock Shelter. It's quite a dramatic and visible rock outcrop there. And yeah, we just need to now cross over this. I think this is more or less where Verlorenvlei is now becoming narrow again, and I think there's a little bridge there in front, about 2 kilometers. A very nondescript turn off, you can always miss it, but here it is, the turn off to Diepkloof Rock Shelter. Quite a steep descent. To get down to Verlorenvlei. Yeah, a little bit of dirt road riding, that's always welcome. So this is really the upper parts of Verlorenvlei, or the eastern end of Verlorenvlei, that one is able to cross here on this little bridge. So I have to open a gate here. Let's just open and get through. We have now made it to the Diepkloof Rock Shelter. I'm not sure how close one can get. Hello. Do you work here?
Yes.
So how close can one get to the Diepkloof Rock Shelter?
It's not in this farm, it's next farm.
Okay, so if I just continue on this road, I will not.
You straight to the road, then you stop at the gate, they're gonna come open you by the gate, they will lock the gate, but if you stop there, they're gonna come open for you.
But where are they? Are they at the gate?
No, there's a house, this close to the house. So.
Okay. But I mean, you still need to walk to get to the.
Yeah.
But is it open for people to just walk and go?
It's not open, that's why these people from there, they're gonna...
Okay, but then I'm not going to go because I don't have that much time. I thought one can park quite closely, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to ride down this road a little bit and then I will turn around.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
What is so significant about this Diepkloof Rock Shelter is that apart from the fact that people have stayed there 60,000 years ago, there's also evidence of engravings on eggshells, and that is ostrich eggshell. So it means that there's some early evidence of artwork and patterns being engraved in these shells, and something like 270 fragments of ostrich shell eggs have been found here as part of the archaeological investigations, proving that art was done. And it is actually pointed out that to engrave an ostrich shell is not an easy task. It is quite a hard shell to engrave, and yeah, the people did it. Now, 60,000 years ago, art in this area, I find it fascinating. But I'm going to turn around here and let's now head back to the R366, I think, and let's head on to Redelinghuys. As I'm leaving the Diepkloof Rock Shelter, maybe just the last snippet of an interesting fact of this rock shelter is that very recently in 2024 it got World Heritage Site status specifically for Ice Age occupation sites. Because it was occupied so long ago, it's part of that World Heritage Sites recognition internationally. Now, this is a very important site archaeologically, and I think it's maybe a worthwhile destination to actually come, arrange to go and actually walk up, because from photos I could see that there's some significant rock overhangs there. Verlorenvlei. Now you can see that even here where I'm riding now, there sometimes must be water, so if one comes back in late winter, you should probably see quite significant stretches of water here as well. It's quite a bit of a steep climb to just get out of Verlorenvlei. Let's go. Next stop, Redelinghuys. So the turn off to Redelinghuys is just another 11 kilometers down this R366. And Redelinghuys is basically next to this road, so it's really very close by. But here you can see Verlorenvlei and the river still having quite significant quantities of water. Because effectively Verlorenvlei stretches all the way to Redelinghuys, so you still get some pockets here. Beautiful. And the more we ride in this direction, the more we see the Cederberg in the distance. As we cross over this little higher lying area, you will see the town of Redelinghuys there in the distance. As I said in the previous video, we are really riding through the Sandveld. Now the Sandveld area is a fertile area for growing potatoes, and Redelinghuys is referred to as the potato capital of South Africa, so lots and lots of potatoes being produced here. Redelinghuys is different to almost all other towns that I've visited. You know, when I visit these small towns, I like to go and look at the most prominent buildings, and inevitably the most prominent building is the Dutch Reformed Church building. And Redelinghuys also had a magnificent Dutch Reformed Church building, but tragedy struck on 9 April 2019 and this church burned down. This is indeed a tragedy. It was 92 years old. Apparently it burned down due to some electrical fault in the church. Luckily the church hall was saved. So the one thing you will not see as we approach Redelinghuys is a church steeple. So you can see the upper reaches, I mean all the reeds and so on. So Verlorenvlei definitely reaches all this way. Let's look at this interesting art against the house here. How beautiful is this? It looks like some farming motif and chicken sitting on the door. That's beautiful. But let me just try and see where the church is. Now it's obviously not so easy to spot, I think. But the next street is Church Street, so I think that is a clue. So let's just make a turn here. Ah, indeed. Here is the church. Oh, it's only this front part of the building that remains. This is really, really a tragedy. Let me make a stop here. I made a stop here in front of the ruin of the Dutch Reformed Church here in Redelinghuys. Yeah, this is quite a different site. I think one usually expects quite a magnificent church building in these small towns, and tragically this one burned down 6 years ago. So you can still see the stone foundations, and at least the lower part of the steeple and the front door part of the church is still remaining. But yeah, it's a bit of an eerie feeling having having this kind of a ruin, and I suppose to raise the money to rebuild this church, basically rebuild the whole church, is maybe just a bit too difficult a task. But let's have a bit of a look. Now, so this is actually the approach road to the church, and I suppose in the past, if you drove down this road, you had a magnificent view on the steeple of this church. And now you have this front facade. So they are giving a big warning here, no entry. I suppose it remains a dangerous site to just occupy. But I will insert a photo here of what the church looked like before it burned down. But it was quite a big story in the news. I can still remember it. From this angle you can see how the whole rest of the church is just gone. Of course the roof bent down completely, and you can still see the stone foundations of the church. There's a little bell here, and of course this more modern church hall is now where the church services are held. But let's get back to the bike. As with the theme in previous videos, I'm introducing you to some aspects of the Honda CRF 300 Rally and my gear and equipment that I use to do the motor vlogging. In the previous videos and previous series I told you a lot about the bike, the actual modifications, like the hand protectors, the pannier racks, the seat cover, all those things. So please go and have a look. In almost every video I talk about some aspect of the bike. In the previous video I spoke about how I do the sound setup in the helmet so that I can speak while riding, which is not as simple as one may think. So please go and have a look there if you want to find out more on how I'm doing this. But for today I want to introduce you to another very important part of my recording equipment, and this is the drone that I use. Now, I love this little drone. It's actually got a name. It's named Gogga. So in Afrikaans, of course, that means bug, because it flies around like a little gogga. And this drone I had now for almost 2 years already, and used it a lot in the other channel that I do with my wife Annelie, Back Road Chronicles. So if you want to see many drone shots in that series or that channel, please go and have a look. There's a very particular video where we actually lost Gogga and almost gave up finding Gogga when I just crashed it in a very remote area there outside of New Bethesda. So I will put a link to that video here if you want to go and see what we had to go through to find this little drone. It was quite hectic, but we found her and she's flying again. So yeah, this drone has allowed for very nice footage. I just used it before stopping here again there at Verlorenvlei and at the Diepkloof Rock Shelter. But let me introduce you to this little drone. As shown in one of my previous videos, I keep all my footage recording equipment in this little tank bag here. Also the drone. The drone is a DJI Mini 3 Pro drone. So you can see the total size of this drone. It is very small. So with the battery, it does not weigh more than 250 grams. This is actually built as per regulation, because if you want to fly these drones, if they are heavier than, say, 250 grams and higher, you need to have a very specific pilot's license. But for a small little drone like this, weighing less than 250 grams, you can see even there on the drone it says ultralight 249 grams. You can fly this without having to do any license or so. So this is the drone, DJI Mini 3 Pro drone, and this is the controller that comes with it. So it's got a built-in, let me just switch it on a bit. It's got a built-in screen here, so you can very easily see where you are flying, and you can control the drone, the recordings and everything from there. If you look at this drone, it folds up very small, so that's why it is so portable. You can pack it into a very small bag, you can travel along with it, and then it has a very interesting way of folding open. So this is the behind propellers, and this is the front ones fold out like this. In the end, then ending up with a drone that looks like this. So this is the little camera with a gimbal in front, so it allows for very nice 4K footage to be collected. It can do it horizontally and vertically, and you will see that here at the back is where the battery of the drone goes in. So with this battery, this drone can fly for more than a half an hour, so more than enough time to capture some footage and so on. Now the Mini 3 Pro drone is there, you get many different versions or variations. So you get just the normal Mini 3 and the Mini 3 Pro. means that it's got a little bit advanced function. So it's got, I think the most useful advanced function this has is it's got a tracking function. So if I want it to lock onto something to, well, fly along with me while I'm riding, for example, or when you want it to lock onto a specific something that's fixed on the ground, you can do that easily and then focus the attention on that. So this is Gogga, the little drone. Yeah, it has already allowed for a lot of good footage. I had it more than 2 years. I can just mention that this is quite a robust little drone. I actually, once I did a video, it actually fell in the sea. Luckily I could fetch the drone. It was in quite shallow water, but it was completely covered. It actually rolled in the waves, and I misjudged some of the functionality on the drone, and you would think, well, the drone is then lost. But I just cleansed it off with fresh water, shook out all the salty water, and then started it up again, and it could fly. It had some problems with the sensors, because there you can see the sensors in the front, and it also got sensors there at the back, and the sensors were faulty. So of course the sensors are important to allow you not to fly into things, and I had to have the sensors replaced. So that was quite expensive, but if you look at the total cost of the drone, it was worthwhile to do it, and since then the drone is flying perfectly fine again. What is nice about this drone is it links to GPS, so when you fly it, it always knows where it is relatively positioned, and it keeps itself in position, and even if you then want to let it come back to the point where it departed from, it can come back home by itself. So if you lose contact with the drone, it can come back home by itself, so it's quite forgiving in that way to fly. And it comes along with this case of drone batteries, where extra batteries of the drone can be charged, and I link it onto this cable to continuously charge it. Yeah, so this is my drone Gogga. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the Mini 3 Pro. You do get a newer version since I bought this one. You get the Mini 4 Pro now with a little bit more advanced features, but this one is just working perfectly fine for me. Now we are heading for the destination for this trip, and that is Aurora. Now this little stretch to Aurora, I suspect, is quite a bit of a hectic dirt road. Every time I set the GPS to take me to Aurora, it wants to take me on long distances, like the one that I see here, 83 kilometers, but that is taking quite a detour by staying on the tar roads. But I know that you need to make a left turn here to turn to the direction of Aurora, which is the shortest distance. This was Redelinghuys, a sleepy, dusty little town in the Sandveld, potato capital of South Africa, and on the farthest reaches of the Verlorenvlei estuary. So here the dirt road is starting, and it's starting with an exclamation mark. I hope that doesn't mean it's going to be hectic. Well, it is starting very sandy immediately, so this might be a bit slow going. Let me see. So at least the GPS is updated now. It's 27 kilometers, and it says it's going to take me 28 minutes, so it's about a minute a kilometer if I keep up the speed, which I don't think I will. I will have to keep my concentration levels up, because I can see this is basically a dirt road that is covered with sand. And now with the sun basically midday, you cannot even see a little bit of shadows on the road, so I will just take it slow. But yeah, I'm always looking for the dirt roads. When I planned this trip, I saw that this is a dirt road leading from Redelinghuys, and it just made Aurora the obvious destination. After following quite some distance of tar road, just getting to Redelinghuys. Yeah, this is relatively slow going. I'm barely getting to 40 kilometers per hour, so it's going to take a bit of time to ride this 27 or so kilometers to Aurora, because I believe this remains a dirt road all the way. Sometimes I can take it up a little bit to 50 kilometers an hour, but I think I will not attempt to go very fast on this road. Well, I know made it over this first ridge. Ah, and then what a beautiful valley opening up in front of us. So this is Sandveld. I assume that there's many potato farms situated here below. Oh, this road remains tricky. You can even see the sand spread out on this road. Maybe it's not so visible on the camera, but it's a bit scary riding it like this because you never know when you will skid a little bit to one side. I suppose it will be much easier if the tire pressures were much lower, but I'm not going to lower it now. So we are just now taking a bit of a turn to the right to ride around this little mountain here, because I think Aurora is just based there towards the side of the mountain, or maybe just around. I'm not 100% sure. I've never been to Aurora. It will be interesting just to see the little town. Yeah, the road is just making a relatively sharp turn to the left here. Then we should see the town. I'm seeing a church steeple. That is usually an indication. That's what we missed in Redelinghuys, unfortunately, but Aurora's got quite a beautiful church I saw in photos, so we will go and have a look. Now Aurora, as with most other towns, was established around the church, and it was established in 1908. That's also the time in which the church was built. Now the name Aurora, why this town is called Aurora, there seems to be not a lot of certainty. Oh, these are beautiful little houses. New houses, but beautiful. So the name Aurora, of course, is the goddess of dawn, and whether this is now renamed after the goddess of dawn, or maybe there's also talk of one of the reverends or ministers in the town's daughter was named Aurora, and that the town was then called Aurora, naming the daughter of the reverend. Yeah, it's neat little houses here. This is the Dutch Reformed Church of Aurora. I think it's got a beautiful, beautiful facade. Oh, just look at it. It's got a double door entrance of the front doors angled 90 degrees to each other. It's quite an interesting technique being used on the tower. Let's have a closer look. I made a stop here in front of the beautiful Church of Aurora. When I entered the town, I said it was established 1908, actually in 1906. This town was established, so just a small historical correction there. But this church, I mean, when I saw it, when I planned this trip on photos, it had a striking facade. So let's just have a bit of a closer look at what it looks like there at the front door. Now, so as we saw when we entered, the front doors are angled 90 degrees, and it's got these very distinct rounded parts to the front door. I find this quite interesting. Yeah, so the town was established 1906, but the church was built or finished building in 1908. Yeah, so this church is well over 100 years old. And it's got interesting facets there on the tower. It looks like stones sticking out. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but yeah, beautiful. I think it's a very unique design, and I think it's a design that is very recognizable. So if you see these rounded parts to the front door, you know you are seeing the Church of Aurora. with this stop in Aurora, we are getting to the end of this trip that departed there from Leipoldtville. Thank you very much for joining me on this ride. It was an interesting ride of contrast. I think approaching that Verlorenvlei from a height, visiting the Diepkloof Rock Shelter, although we couldn't go quite in, just being in the presence of that archaeological history was very interesting. Going through the town of Redelinghuys and looking at what is remaining of that church, that is quite a tragedy, but interesting to see. And then doing this difficult stretch of road from Redelinghuys to Aurora. But yeah, always fun to have a bit of a challenge. Thank you very much for joining me on this trip. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and yes, I will departing from Aurora very soon, but I will bring that to you in the next video. I think this is going to be interesting, what comes next. So see you next time. Bye bye.